Don't you students fret, Mrs. Kaloran is here to teach you about math today, my first official video. Today we're going to be talking about lesson 77, percent of a number. So far this year we have talked about and practiced fractional parts. We have found fractions of numbers. If you can tell in there, I'm going to be using a word that means some form of a symbol. Anybody guess what that is? If you guessed of, you are correct, because of means to multiply. So today, moving on, we are going to be finding these percent parts. So let's just review that of means multiply, and another word is that is important, means equals. We will move on to our next slide. It has what percent of 40 is 25. We would like to start out this problem by rewriting or translating this equation. We will use W sub P for what percent of means to multiply, 40 means 40, is means equals, and 25 means 25. So there is your sentence turned into, or I should say your question turned into a math statement. We now need to solve this math statement. We will do so by looking at our what percent. What is happening to it? Well, we could say that it is being multiplied by 40. If we want to get what percent by itself, we will need to do the inverse operation of multiplication, which is going to be division. And we will divide both sides by 40. A lot of you are trying to take 40 and divide it by 25, but that doesn't get what percent by itself. When we do this, we will cancel out our 40s and they turn into 1s, because 40 divided by 40 is 1. What percent is left by itself? And now in order to find our percent, we are going to have to take 25 over 40, which I'm going to show you reduces right now to 5 goes into 25 5 times, and 5 goes into 40 8 times. 5/8. Now you ask yourself, is 5/8 a percent? No, it is not, Mrs. Kaloran. Get with the game. You will need to take 5 and divide it by 8. How do we do that? Well, 8 does not go into 5, so we now need to take our decimal point and add a 0. 8 goes into 50. How many times? 6. Which is 48. Hopefully we all remember how to divide. 50 minus 48 is 2. We need to carry down another 0. And 8 goes into 22 times, which is 16. Subtract, it is 4. Carry down the second 0. And 8 goes into 40 5 times, which is 40. When you get 0 in division, that means you are done. Now you have to ask yourself a second time, is this a percent? Because what do we want? What percent? No, it is not. We need to convert it to a percent. Therefore, our answer will move the decimal place 2 places to the right because we are multiplying by 100%. And we end up with 62.5%. Over here, if you look at the right side of the board, I have gone through and justified every single one of my steps. What does justification mean, you ask? Well, if you ever think I did it wrong, guess what? Here are the reasons why I am right. I first translated the equation right here. That is step 1, check. I isolated the variable. If you look, I got W sub P all by itself. Check. Divided both sides by 40 by isolating the variable. Pretty much could be one step, I guess. I simplified and got my 5/8. And then we went through, and this is a fraction. We needed a percent. Great job. First problem down. I don't know how many to go. Rest of the day. What percent of $3.50 is 28 cents? We need to translate this into an equation. W sub P stands for what percent? Of means to multiply. We have $3.50 is means equals, and we have 28 cents. We will now, what was the first step? isolate the variable. Okay, if we want to isolate the variable, W sub P is our variable. What is happening to our variable? It is being multiplied by $3.50. Therefore, we will divide. And what are we going to divide by? $3.50. What you do to one side, you must do to the other. It's the common law, people. Okay, so when we divide this side over here by $3.50 on the left, they are going to cancel. They turn into ones because $3.50 divided by $3.50 is 1. We get W sub P by itself. That means we have isolated our variable. And now we just have this fraction. 28 cents divided by $3.50. Okay, our dollars will obviously cancel out because dollars divided by dollars is 1. We have a fraction though, we do not have a percent. So in order to get a percent, we are going to have to take 0.28, your numerator, and divide it by your denominator, $3.50, which we already took out our dollar signs. Great job. We need to first move our decimal 2 places. If we move the divisor's decimal, we also need to move the dividend's decimal. So now we have a new problem with our decimal points outside here. We have to ask ourselves, does 350 go into this problem? No, it does not. So what do we need to do? 350 goes into 28 0 times. Now you have to ask yourself, after adding a 0, how many times it goes into 28. And guess what, people? That is 0 times as well. Add a second 0. We have to see how many times 350 goes into 2800. Okay? Well, let's try over here to multiply 350. I know that it goes in there probably more than 8 times. So I'm going to try 8. 8 times 0, 0. 8 times 5 is 40. And 8 times 3 is 24, plus 4 is 20. Wow, look at that, people. Exactly 8 times, which leaves us with 2,800. Subtract that from there, and you will get 0. Means you are done with division. So, W sub P is now equal to, after dividing these two, 0.08. Is that a percent? No! If we want to turn it to a percent, move your decimal 2 places to the right, and you end up with 8%. That means that $3.50 times 8% is 28 cents, or 8% of $3.50 is 28 cents. Does it make sense? Sure does, Mrs. Cloran. So here are your justifications over on the side. Let's check to make sure we followed all the steps. Did we translate the question? That would be our step right here. We did translate the question. Did we isolate the variable? Well, we tried to. We isolated the variable by dividing both sides by 350. That would show you that step right there. And did we simplify? We sure did. We got our division problem right here. So we tried to simplify. We ended up with 0.08 up here. And then this is a decimal. We needed a percent, so yes. We went through each and every one of our steps to get our solution. All right, moving on. Make sure, always take your time when watching these videos. There are important steps in these videos and you need to follow each and every one of them. You need to follow them. So make sure you're writing them down as I'm writing them down. Pause your video if you need to. Great ideas, Mrs. Cloran. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Translate your statement into an equation. 50 is equals what percent? W sub P of multiply and 40. And here we have our equation we need to solve. You ask, what is happening to W sub P? It is being multiplied by 40. Therefore, we need to divide by 40. And we will divide both sides by 40 to cancel out the number that is on the same side as our variable. And when we do so, we are going to end up with 50 over 40 equals W sub P. What will happen here? We will cancel out our zeros. Now we have 5 over 4 equals W sub P. Is this a percent? No, it's not. Well, that's what we're looking for. So we need to find a percent. In order to find a percent, you need to take your numerator divided by your denominator. So we are going to take 5 and divide it by 4. 4 goes into 5 one time. Decimal. Remember to put your decimal right above. 4 goes into 50. How? Oops, sorry. We forgot to put the 4 down. I lost my track. 5 minus 4 is 1. Bring down the 0. 4 goes into 10 2 times. And we end up with 8. We're going to subtract again. Down here we're going to get 10 minus 8, which is 2. We will carry down another 0. And 24 goes into 25 times. So that would be 20. Your solution ends up with 0. You are done with division. So now your solution, what percent, W sub P, is now equal to not 5/4, but 1.25. Ask yourself, is this a percent? No, it is not. So we are going to turn it to a percent by multiplying by 100% if you haven't caught on to that yet. And 1.25 multiplied by 100% is 125%. Okay, did we go through the correct steps? Let's check over here. Mrs. Clarn has those done, and we have justifications. Translate the question. Did that. Isolate the variable. Yes, we did that. Divide both sides by 40. That is how we isolated the variable. We simplified and got 5/4. This is a fraction. We need a percent. So we turned it into a decimal multiplied by 100% to get 125%. Is it right to have a percent over 100, you ask? What do you guys notice about my original equation here? You can see that 40 is smaller than 50. So if we are going to multiply 40 by some percent to get 50, we need more than 100%, because 40 would be 100% and we need 50, which is larger, so larger than 100%. 60 is 150% of what number? Will the answer be greater than or less than 60? The correct solution would be 150% times some number. We're going to have a smaller number to start with to get 60 if we're multiplying by 150%. So here we are going to translate the equation. Last one, guys. Bear with me. 60 means equals 150%, which we will turn to a decimal. Can't multiply by percents, right? Of what number? Okay, so here we're using a percent to find a number. How are we going to get what number all by itself? We are going to divide by 1.5, divide by 1.5. Okay, over here your 1.5s will cancel. Over here, we need to take 60 divided by 1.5. We have a decimal on the divisor. We need to move it over, which means we will add a 0. Well, we know 15 goes into 60 4 times, and that is 60. Add a 0. So what number started out as 40? Okay? 40 times 1.5 is 60. I will agree with that statement. Every time. Justifications, we translated the question, isolated the variable by dividing both sides by 1.5, and we simplified. We didn't have to convert to a percent because it was a number. Thank you for joining me today. Have a great day. Yeah, math!